Good morning. Welcome. I'm Mary Winters. I am a gerontologist, and you are watching Visionary Aging. I'm so glad you're here, and I brought my tea. I always have tea. I found out actually that I'm sensitive to caffeine. So anyway, I switched over from coffee. So get your coffee or your tea or whatever you choose to drink and join us. I'm so grateful you're here. And we want to talk about some really important things for you and how much power you have to own your own vision of aging. So we have some special guests today. We have our dependable Steve McCullough, who has been with us from the very early on with our program, and he will present a caregiver question to you. And then we also have Melinda Hughes, our nutrition and fitness specialist. She's going to talk with us today about, maybe we'll talk about a driving theme, six pack. We also have Daniel Kuo on with us. He is the owner of several six packs, but I'm not going to tell you what that is until a little bit later. First, we're going to go ahead and we're going to celebrate somebody's 100th birthday. So this man is incredible looking. I think it's a fake picture. I don't think he's really as. I don't think this is really him. It looks like it's probably from 20 years ago. But anyway, let's go ahead and I'll show you. This is our sanitarian for today. He's a local man. His name is Ernie Mills out of Beverly Hills. And I don't think he looks like he's 100, but he has his hat to prove it. And they celebrated his birthday last week, even though his birthday is today. And Mr. Mills was the personal manager of the legendary performers Vicky Carr, O.C. Smith, and Bobby V. And during the festivities, Arnie stood for 3 hours, greeting more than 50 people, and still wanted to go out afterwards, said his son, Adam Mills. He was reported in the Courier. So thank you so much for this picture. And this is his very handsome and beautiful daughter-in-law, Adam Mills and Jade Mills. So I hope you have a fantastic birthday. And I think by the looks of you, you will be living till you're at least 120. So enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. And we will next have on our very own Steve McCullough. He's here. Good morning.
Good morning.
I pushed all the right buttons. You're here.
You're good at button pusher.
Yeah. That could be a bad thing too, huh?
I'll let you interpret that.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit about six packs. What do you think about that? Have you heard that question asked in caregiver world, or do you have a different question to ask?
In caregiver world, I have not heard that question asked in caregiver world.
Yeah. So actually, you hear the word six pack and you think, is that fear, or is that something that you work out to get? Or in the senior living community, we call six pack the little boarding cares that are just these wonderful little boarding cares that are within every neighborhood, any neighborhood, and they're taking care of seniors. They're licensed assisted living communities, and because they usually have six people in our industry, we've been calling them six pack. So
Oh, really?
that's where we got the word, the term six pack. Yeah.
I did not know that. Now there's 3 meanings I know for that.
Exactly. Yeah, so yeah, we're going to have Daniel Kuo on, and he is the owner of Rose Valley Assisted Living, and they're beautiful homes that have been taking care of many wonderful seniors for quite a few years. So we'll talk a little bit about what that means. So,
Nice.
any other questions that are burning from our viewers that you want to throw out there?
I do have a question. So It's how do we go about, or what extra precautions do we go about, like working out or just doing daily activities with the heat wave that we're going through with the excessive, triple digit heat. What extra precautions do we need to take?
That is a great question. And Melinda's with us today too, so we can always ask her a little bit more about that. But you have to stay hydrated. And honestly, it's not worth jogging in the heat. I don't think it's worth jogging in the heat for anybody at any age, but certainly an older adult who has fewer reserves and could really suffer from heat stroke. It's not good. So I would say have lots of popsicles on hand and make sure you're drinking tons of water. Coconut water can be a really great supplement too. Um,
Mhm.
Hydrate you. So I prefer that over Gatorade. Maybe put a little juice in it if you don't like coconut, but that could be a great way to hydrate. And there are better foods that are better hydrating, and Melinda will know this too. Things like berries and melons and cucumber. So you can get a little hydration out of the food too, depending on hydration.
Excellent.
Very good question. Yeah. So how about I'm gonna bring Melinda on here. And I have a little intro for her now. So hold on. I'll be right back.
Push the right buttons.
Bring Melinda on.
Hello.
How do you like the little intro?
I love it.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So,
gave a perfect answer.
did I
I
get a
love,
perfect
yeah,
answer?
yeah, I love that answer.
Good.
And I would just add avoiding dehydrated foods or
Ah,
foods that are dehydrating. So this is the time to avoid alcohol
and,
if you
and,
drink
and
alcohol,
caffeine, if you're drinking heavily
and
caffeine items,
caffeine.
yes. Uh-huh.
Exactly. And then
Mhm.
if there's a lot of people where, some daily exercise is really, really important for them for their mental health.
Yeah.
And if that is you, I would suggest before the sun comes up or as the sun's coming up, and then after the sun sets. So just avoid, if you're a night owl, wait till that sun goes down because things cool off pretty quickly. That's when I take the dog for a walk. And
Great.
then, in the morning before things really start to heat up, that's when you should be going outside and doing your walk around.
Very good. Really good advice. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Were you going to talk a little bit more about working out, or we talked about the six pack with Daniel. I think
Yeah. Immediately when you mentioned six pack, well, of course I think about the six pack of your muscles, your
Exactly.
abdominal muscles showing through.
Exactly.
One of the biggest myths in the fitness industry is that you can do crunches or abdominal exercises to give yourself a six pack.
Uh-huh.
And I like to explain to people that that's not doing crunches is not going to give you a six pack. Doing crunches or abdominal exercises will strengthen the abdominal muscle.
Okay.
But our diet, what we're eating, is what manipulates the amount of fat laying on top of that muscle. And the amount of fat tissue that we have on top of that muscle is what really um, makes the difference on whether we can see those muscles or we can't see those muscles.
Okay.
So when we are exercising to get a six pack, it really doesn't matter if we do crunches because there is no such thing as target toning. What matters is that we build muscle all over our body, and that increases our metabolism in such a way that we start to lose fat tissue all over our body. And then we can see those muscles poke through.
Yeah. Nice.
I think that the phrase that people like to talk about is that abs are made in the kitchen, not in the gym.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not drinking beer.
Yeah. No, not drinking
Not
beer.
that.
That's how you make the keg.
That.
It's same all over your body though. So if somebody, wants to lose fat tissue on their thighs or their hips, it's not really about doing exercises for those muscles. Doing exercises for those muscles will help strengthen those muscles, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's really about what you're eating.
Okay, we got to talk about my food then. We'll do that next time. How about next week? We'll talk about food and
Okay,
targeting
it's a deal.
fat on that. All right. Thanks so much, Melinda. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All righty. We're going to talk a little bit about Daniel now and how he is taken over in the six-pack world, which is a good thing. And let's see here. But Daniel was born and raised in San Gabriel Valley and graduated from Arcadia High School. So he's a local Southern California guy. And he grew up here, obviously, but he also went to business school and graduated cum laude with honors over at UC Riverside. He eventually became a registered investment advisor at New York Life, where he learned the necessity of long-term care insurance and immediately purchased policies for his parents and himself. And he's young, so he obviously sees the benefit in that. Daniel opened his first assisted living homes in Loma Linda and Redlands back in 2017. He has since transitioned home to the San Gabriel Valley and now runs Rose Valley Assisted Living Homes in Pasadena, Altadena, and Arcadia. He spends his free time playing golf, basketball, and poker. I wonder which kind of game of poker he likes, while attending as many Lakers games as possible. So I'm not sure if he's been able to do that lately or not, but let's see, we'll bring him on and chat a little bit about, let's see, I think I have, let's see, here we go. See, I've got to push a different button to bring him on. Let's make sure that I didn't toss him off. I think I tossed him off. So Daniel, if you hear me, we've got to bring you back on. So I'll have to sign back in, I think, because I think I tossed you off. But Daniel is an amazing young man who has been caring for our seniors since 2017 in the assisted living. And these homes, you would not believe that they are in your personal neighborhood. They are licensed. There are agencies that come out and inspect and make sure that these little communities, these little boarding care communities, are run effectively and appropriately. And I think, let's see, he's not here. So we've got to get him to sign back in. Here we go. He's trying to get back in. So I know he'll be back in just a second here. But it's really interesting because we have the larger boarding care or the larger assisted livings, and they could be well over 100 beds. And licensing is different for every segment of assisted living. So if you're 6-bed facility, you have certain requirements that you have to meet. If you're 15, if you're 50, if you're over 100, then the requirements increase. So you have to have transportation available in a location that has over 50, I believe it is. So there's different requirements, and he's here with us right now. So let me bring him back in, and there we go. He'll be in just a minute here with us. And there we go. Like that. And there we go. There he is. we had a little bit of trouble with a lot of sign in and sign out and so forth. But Daniel's with us now. Thank you, Daniel, for being here. I was just talking a little bit about the differences between the larger assisted livings and how the requirements may be different, like they're required to actually have transportation or different things. But we wouldn't necessarily know that you are in a beautiful community of Arcadia, Altadena. You are just a lovely little home taking care of seniors. So
Yes.
we talked a little bit about all the 6-packs, Melinda's 6-pack, the Abir 6-pack, but we kind of affectionately in the industry call the little boarding cares because they're 6 beds, 6-packs. But tell us a little bit more about what that means to run a little boarding care. I should say little, but they are smaller in comparison to the other assisted living. Tell me a little bit about what that's like.
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on. We had some technical difficulties, but
Not a
seems
problem.
like that always happens. Seems like that always happens right
Yeah.
when you're about to go on.
And I can hear
Um,
we don't need to sweat the small stuff, right? We take care of some very serious situations, and this is a piece of cake. We don't need to worry about this kind of stuff.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, it's really funny. The whole six pack thing. I've heard it called six packs before too. There's so many different names for it. Board and care home. Licensing calls it residential care facility for the
Yeah,
elderly.
yeah.
I don't really like that word facility too much because, I like to refer to our homes as assisted living homes
You are
because
home. You're,
yeah, in fact, it
you're,
is a house.
yeah, yeah,
That's right. So if you were to just, drive down the neighborhood, you can't tell it apart from any other home
yeah,
on the block,
yeah.
because it is a house. But what's special about it is inside.
Oh, we lost him. He'll come back on now. So we almost heard that what's special about what's going on. I'm going to bring Melinda on. So while we're sitting around and chatting, we have a little something before Daniel comes back. So we can just have a little something to talk about. Are you familiar with Boarding Cares? Have you heard of the little six pack residential?
No,
Yeah.
but I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to hear what's so special about it, but I can kind of guess that it's a more homey experience.
It is.
It sounds like, yeah, I like that he didn't like the word facility. It's, you're still living, and it seems like that might be a really nice quality of life, to
Yeah, it
be
really,
living in a home. And
yeah, it really can be.
yeah,
It's, it, you do have a lot of attention, a lot of focused attention, I think, and obviously there are fewer people there, so the ratio is often much better. I think he's
yeah,
coming to us, so we're going to go ahead and bring him back, and maybe
I
we'll
hope.
keep him in while we're chatting. That way, if we keep having problems, we can bring him back. So Daniel, you just were like on the cusp of saying something fantastic, and I brought Melinda back in. We're going to keep her on. We'll just allow her to even throw a question out to you because she's never heard of boarding care.
Yeah, we're excited to hear what's special about them.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I think it's my internet. It's nothing to do with
It's
this. Of course,
okay.
my Wi-Fi is going to be spotty right now, right? But
Yeah,
yes, I was going to say the only difference is, inside of these homes, we're caring for up to, six elderly residents who do need assistance, who do need help with things like, cooking, bathing, cleaning, medication management, that kind of thing. And we're able to be fortunate enough to have these homes. We renovate them, right, to make them more senior friendly. We have them wheelchair accessible throughout the house, for example. You got to have the
Mhm.
grab bars and things like that in the bathrooms to keep it more safe. And really, it's about the people. It's about the caregivers that we train and we hire, and they're the ones who really provide that care for all of our residents inside the home.
yeah, it's really great. I feel like we should just have a little bit of a party. So I'm going to bring Steve McCullough on too,
Is
and we can all
so
ask you
Sure.
is there someone there 24 hours?
Yeah, yeah. Someone always has to be there, 24 hours. You can't leave the home unsupervised at all, or at least you're not supposed to, right?
questions.
And it's one of those things. It's really tough because I mean it's 24/7, it's 365, right? There's no
Yeah,
such thing as a
yeah,
holiday, even though there really are. But then the care is needed all the time, so
yeah.
it can be challenging at times.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about what you think the benefit of being in a boarding care is versus a larger assisted living or even skilled nursing. I know there's a difference as far as the level of care with skilled nursing and start type
Oh,
nursing.
yeah, yeah. So
Um,
let me just start off by saying that we are considered assisted living homes. So what that means is we're considered non-medical. So that would be the biggest difference between us and, let's say, a skilled nursing facility, because they are medical. They do have, let's say, nurses, doctors on staff. They are licensed through California public health, whereas we are licensed through Department of Social Services. So that's a big key takeaway there. And because the skilled nursing facilities is considered medical, that's why things like Medi-Cal or Medicare, it covers part of it. But being assisted living and non-medical, the only insurance that covers is long-term care insurance. And otherwise, it's private pay kind of a situation.
Okay.
And just breaking it down even further, like the main difference I would say between a larger assisted living facility and the smaller home setting, it's really the staffing ratios. In a larger facility, you may be at the best ones. You get maybe one caregiver for every, I don't know, 8, 10, sometimes I've heard up to 12 or 15 residents. And that's kind of during the day. Overnight, there might even be fewer. I mean, just because there's less activity going on overnight. But you could have maybe one for every 20, 25, in larger facilities. Whereas in a smaller home setting, because we only have 6 residents, during the day, we'll have 2 caregivers. So you have like a 1-to-3 ratio. And overnight, of course, there's also less activity for us as well. We only have 1 caregiver, but that's to take care of 6 overnight. And so I would say that's probably the biggest difference, but they all have their, place. I'd say I really don't see a larger assisted living facilities as being like a direct kind of competition, because I think it's just completely different setting. What I would say is if somebody is more, let's say, independent and can really utilize a lot of the amenities that the larger assisted living facilities has to offer, then they can really take advantage and really enjoy it. But if it's somebody who needs a little bit more care, and they need that constant, supervision, somebody to be around just in case, a smaller home setting is probably a better fit for someone who needs a little bit more care and supervision.
I would tend to agree with that, absolutely. Now we have a viewer, Suzette Peterson, and she's asking if you still have your place in Loma Linda. I know she's out that way in Redlands, and
Oh, yeah, we still have one in not the one in Loma Linda anymore.
is it still Rose Valley?
Yeah, it's still Rose Valley. We just have one home left there now. As you kind of mentioned earlier, kind of transitioned back home. When we first started, it was out in that area. I went to, UC Riverside and just thought, okay, well, let's do something out here. And after a while, driving from here to there, it takes a little bit over an hour, and it just kind of made more sense. My business partner is also living in Pasadena area for us to just transition back to like the Arcadia, Pasadena areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're welcome to that. We love answering any questions that you have. So anyone who is watching, if you have a question, you can.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there a wait list to get into your homes?
It
How
depends.
yeah.
Some do, some don't, right? So we have some homes that are completely occupied right now, and if somebody has the luxury to want to be on the wait list, great. We can do that. And when I say luxury, what I mean by that is usually if a family or somebody needs assisted living, they kind of need it like
Yeah,
now.
now. Yeah.
They can't really, wait too long. I know a lot of the like what we were talking about earlier, the larger facilities, they might have longer wait lists, but maybe for their more like independent living section,
Yeah.
because those kind of residents, they don't really need the care like immediately, so they do have the luxury of kind of waiting for a facility or a home that they want to move into eventually.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know. I worked in very rushed situations where people need placement immediately. In fact, I remember during COVID, it was every time we turned around, things were being shut down. So we were having a hard time. I know the hospitals were having such a hard time trying to move people out, to move people in. But if we couldn't move people into safe places just because they were either full or somebody had COVID, everybody was stuck. So it was a very precarious situation. I'm glad that we're getting better. In fact, my sister's over at Loma Linda Hospital. she said, fortunately, we have no cases of COVID right now, so keep that going for sure. But yeah, so tell us a little bit more about how one of your residents spends their day. One of your residents.
I'm sorry, what does a typical day look like? Or
Yeah, tell us a little bit about their day.
yeah, so in the mornings, when residents get up out of bed, we try to encourage everybody to eat together at the dining table. Now, sometimes, people want to sleep in a little bit. Sometimes, just we all have our good and bad days, just not feeling like it, want to skip breakfast, and that's totally fine. The way that my philosophy is when it comes to providing the care, it's really individualized. And there's a lot of flexibility because we call our elderly residents for a reason because that's their home. They live there. That is their residence. And if you're going to be at your house, sometimes you don't feel like eating outside, right? Sometimes you want to eat in your room, and that's totally fine, right? What's wrong with that? Sometimes you want to sleep in a little bit and you don't feel like waking up like super early in the morning. And that's okay too, And so that's kind of like one of the driving principles is really the flexibility and the individualization. But we do also try to have like a routine, if possible, right? And so the meals, they're freshly prepared, home cooked meals, 3 times a day. In between the meals is when you try to have your activities, you try to have the daily exercise routines. We can go for a walk around the block. That's okay. Can hang out outside, outdoors, enjoy the nice sunshine, get some afternoon coffee and tea or some cookies. That's great. It could be indoors too. We have plenty of arts and crafts, games, puzzles, board games, card games, you name it. Basically, any kind of hobby that anybody would have, it is available inside of our homes too. And really, it's just that interaction between the caregivers and the residents that, really kind of makes it work, if that makes sense.
Oh, makes perfect sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have questions for Daniel?
Did you ask me?
Oh, do you have a question for him? Or
I was just curious about, so what's the room situation? Is it one room per resident? Are they doubled up? How does that work?
So for our homes, we're fortunate enough to where we do have just private beds, private bedrooms available for everybody, all 6 residents. But that's not a requirement. So there could be other homes where, their shared rooms are available, and that's okay too. I just felt that, most of the residents that we've come across do prefer to have their own rooms, and especially during times of COVID, it really
Yeah.
was a better option than the shared
Right.
rooms.
well, thank you everyone for being on. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And if anybody needs to get a hold of you, Daniel, how would they reach out to you?
Oh, sure. Should I leave my contact info in the chat, or we have a website too as well. It's www.rosevalley.rcfe.com. Put it out there in chat and see if people see this. You let me know.
All right.
And let's see here. Putting it in the chat right now. Do you see that?
No, but I don't have my glasses on, so.
It's in the, I think you put it in the host chat. It needs to go
Oh.
public.
I need to put it in a different
Yeah,
chat.
you did.
Yeah, here we go. Let me see.
Good call, Melinda.
A little crawler here.
Good
too.
call. Is there any way to copy and paste that for me, or?
I'm not quite ready to
You know
go
what?
into assisted
I've
living.
got people can go to our website and they can also connect with us. So I have our scroll on there for aboutseniorsolutions.com. And as you know, we have multiple resources that we offer people, and they can go ahead and take our quiz on where they are in their planning journey. But they can, and also, Daniel, as a agent, when you're selling life insurance, or I guess you're selling all kinds of things. How important long-term
Yeah.
care is too. I
Yes.
have my long-term care insurance. But yeah, feel free to go ahead and give us a call, and we'll make sure that if you want more information about Daniel or Melinda, Stephen, if you have a caregiver question for him, we will get that to him so that we will air that on our program. So in any event, I hope that you all have a great weekend, and please reach out to Daniel if you need him. Please reach out to any of our segment hosts. And any special plans for anyone?
Well, I was going to go have a beer tonight, but after Melinda's conversation, I'm not.
Just stay cool. Just stay.
Cool. There you go. Sounds great. All right, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and play our final little tune here. So
Have a great week, everyone. Stay
All right.
cool.
Yeah, take care.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
Bye.
you for coming.
Thank you.